Hey guys, how's it going? So I was going to do this live, but I just thought I'd drop a little video, to be honest. You've probably seen that I've dropped a few shorts about the Jurgen Klopp interview with Stephen Oakey. Again, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing his surname correctly, I do apologise. But basically, he's the fellow that does Diary of the CEO that a lot of you guys will have seen. Um, yeah, I just wanted to do. I didn't think I would be covering something like this. I'm actually watching Red Men at the moment, talking about that debacle yesterday. So I thought I'd take a break from it. Yeah, I just wanted to cover it because it just seemed to be like it was very, very interesting, very, very enlightening. I just thought it was. I thought it was a really funny interview, and at the same time, I thought it was really poignant, which I'll get onto in a minute, especially with the comments about Diogo, which fair play to Jurgen, were brilliant, and talking about his mom dying with dementia, obviously, which is heartbreaking, and just talking about Liverpool in general, basically, in his time there. Like I said, I've dropped a few little shorts if you want to check it out. But yeah, I'm just going to look at the notes so subscribers will know that I can't remember all this stuff off the top of my head, sadly. So I'm going to be turning my head that way occasionally. So here we go. One of the things that stood out for me was the amount of times that Stephen referenced the Jurgen Klopp potentially going to Man United. I nearly put that on short. And it was quite funny the way they were having a back and forth. I mean, obviously it's not too funny at the minute, seeing we just lost to them. But in context, it was quite amusing. But Jurgen started by talking about, well, Stephen asked about him growing up, obviously, and Jurgen talked about his father being an influence, which a lot of us know, wanted him to be a sportsman, and just encouraging him and not being a disciplinarian, but like Klopp said, if he was drawing, his father would boot him outside and basically say, go and get the fresh air and go and play and this, that and the other. He talked about, and this resonated quite a bit with me personally, that how his whole life changed when he became a father, because obviously he was like a normal 19-year-old lad, and then he moves to Frankfurt, I believe it was. Was it Frankfurt? Possibly. Correct me in the comments. I can't quite remember. But when he got like a contract to go and play, he ended up meeting his now ex-wife, and basically they found out she was pregnant a few months afterwards. I did love the fact that Klopp was just like, Stephen asked, so how did you react when you realised you were going to be a dad at 20? And he was just like, oh no. I was like, I tried to run away and go, it's not me, it's not me. So, yeah, all of us fathers have been there. I mean, I certainly, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say it's not me, because I think the wife would have found that slightly inappropriate, but I could see where he's coming from, to be fair. But it was just the way that he talked about, in respect of him turning from basically a teenager to a man, like overnight. And I totally get where he's coming from, and a lot of mums and dads of that age will get it. I mean, I found out I was going to be a father at the age of 33 years old, and I've got a 12-year-old child, and like everyone at the time was just like, bro, like you've been going out with your missus for 2 years and you're both in your mid-30s, like why would you think we'd be shocked for? And at the time we were like, oh my god, everyone's not going to want to see us anymore. But like, yeah, so I totally understood where Jurgen was coming from with that. So that was interesting to know, and just how basically how he became sort of a leader, if you like really, really early on, because he was like being a captain of the teams that he played for, and obviously had all these responsibilities. And he talked about him having to work 2 jobs while he was also managing a professional career. So you can see early on how he was basically becoming the guy that he was. He talked about, I'm just going through all my list, talked about learning from Wolfgang Frank. Obviously that was his mentor at Mainz, and just the impact that Wolfgang had on him. And there was some story about when he, because Jurgen had always been a captain at all his clubs, and then I believe he was a captain at Mainz, and Wolfgang basically came up and said, I need you not to be the captain anymore. And Jurgen said, cool, that's fine, because I don't want to be. So they had obviously a really, really good relationship and stuff. The conversation kind of went all over the place, hence why my notes are a bit weird. But one thing that they talked about was the Mo Salah incident at West Ham. So obviously just a few games before Klopp was due to leave. And Klopp's just sort of confirmed, like, it's a storm in a teacup, and like, I've still got a good relationship to Mo. which I thought was interesting because I think Mo's referencing himself now and it's all water under the bridge, but it was that comment where he said, there will be fire, and then if I speak anymore, I mean, I'll be in trouble, and this, that, and the other. So I'm glad that's kind of been resolved. I mean, apparently Mo and Klopp are in contact still, which is good. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. Talks about his explosivity versus his calm. Basically, he was more or less saying that the reason he's so animated as opposed to how calm he is in his interviews is just because he always knew that he wasn't going to be the best player in the world, and he was playing with players of a higher technical ability, so he always had to like go in and give 100% and really go for it. So that was interesting talking about that. In one of my shorts, I'll just repeat it quickly. He talked about I'm sorry, I thought it was hilarious. The hilarious bit where when he was about to become manager of Mainz, that their old gaffer basically took him to this room or wherever it was in a hotel or something, basically bought all the beer and said, right, do you want to continue with me as manager or not? And I'll give you like a few minutes to decide. So he buys them all a beer. And all the Mainz players turned around and basically said, well, no, not really. And then Klopp, who wasn't the captain, I believe at the time, turned around. They all turned around to Jurgen and they were just like, Jurgen, you've got to tell him. And Klopp was like, why do I have to tell him for? So Jurgen was the one who had to tell the Mainz manager at the time that basically the players weren't really that keen on him retaining his services. Coach then orders all the players to go to training at 9 a.m. And he also goes to the board saying, I want you to put out a statement and saying all the players behind me. And the board were like, well, there will be a statement, but the statement will be that you've been fired. So it's one of these, like, it's like a what if moment. I mean, if theoretically, if that meeting does not happen, does Jurgen Klopp end up at Liverpool Football Club? I mean, look, he was always going to be a manager, and I'm sure he would have gone into the profession at some stage, but maybe he takes a completely different path. So that was super interesting. He talks about, and I don't know who the player is. If you know, let me in the comments, because I wasn't on social media at that time. But that he dug out a Liverpool player for being on his phone at 3 a.m. and someone told him, one of his staff or something, and Jurgen was like, what the hell was he doing on his phone at 3 a.m? So in the dressing room at Liverpool, he got this unnamed footballer to basically tell the entire team what the post was about, which I thought was a pretty decent punishment, actually, because it just makes sure, like he said, that it would never happen again. So I'm trying to work out who it is. I don't know why, but something's telling me it was Jurgen Shaqiri, and I have no reason to say Shaqiri, and if Mr. Shaqiri is watching, I do apologise, sir, if it's not you. The only other one I could think of who was a bit daft as a brush was maybe Divock Origi, and obviously Danny Sturridge has always had quite a social media thing going on, so maybe one of them three. I don't know, he didn't name who it was, obviously, but that was quite amusing. Talked about learning from the defeats of the finals and learning from his failures to get Mainz up. I mean, obviously we know this sort of thing already and just how it made him a better coach and a better man. I thought the Manchester United thing was begrudgingly interesting after yesterday's fiasco, but Klopp basically said that Man United sort of indirectly approached him to take over from Sir Alex in 2013. At least I assume it was from Sir Alex. I mean, maybe I didn't quite get that bit, but maybe they were asking when they realised Moyes wasn't going to work out or something like that. I don't know. But again, it's another what if. Like, what if Jurgen Klopp is manager of Manchester United? I mean, who knows? The reason that he gave for not carrying on with their approach was just the fact that when he spoke, whoever he spoke to at Man United, I don't know who was the sporting director at the time, was basically saying, yeah, we want to get you in, we want to get this player, we want to get this awesome player, and we're going to give you a Galactico team, and you'll have all the players and they'll already be signed for you. Jurgen was basically like, well, I didn't want that. I wanted to, I hate that word, a project, but I want something that's me. I want something that I've built. I don't want to just be handed Galactico style players without any sort of consultation from me, which is fair play to him. What else did he talk about? He actually brought up the West Bromwich Albion thing with Tony Pulis as well about the celebrations. Obviously, when he got all the lads together, and at the time, all of us Liverpool fans were like, "Well, what are you doing celebrating the 2-2?" And he was just like when Pulis was like, "Is this how far the mighty Liverpool have fallen? Celebrating a 2-2 the last minute against West Brom?" And Jurgen's face was just like, when he was doing the impression, he was just like, "Yeah, thanks, Tony. Cheers for that." But yeah, that was good. It was quite funny how he referenced a lot of the things that you would expect people to ask him. Maybe it's because he constantly gets asked about them. Because obviously we all know the West Brom story. We all know the story about learning from the final defeats and so on and so forth. So maybe he's just used to it. I don't know. But what else? He talked about that he liked the squad the year before he took over. So the one that Brendan Rodgers had when we nearly won the title, obviously with the Gerrard slip and what happened with Luis Suarez and all that. But he was already interested in Liverpool then, so when he saw the opportunity to take over, obviously he knew that we had quite a few good players. Obviously, if you look at our squad now compared to when Jurgen turned up, it's night and day. The squad was pretty atrocious, it has to be said. But yeah, I just thought that was quite interesting as well. Talked about the FSG spending. I'm not going to go over that too much because he just confirmed everything that a lot of us already knew, that there was no real problem with Michael Edwards, and there were one or two arguments which you expect in any business or any organisation, obviously. That a lot of it was done by committee. I think he referenced Nunes was also done by a committee as well, and he said he was always happy working under that model because that's how people manage in the Bundesliga. So he was like, well, I'm used to sporting directors. I've worked with one all my life, so it didn't really bother me as such. Obviously, then I've done a short about this if you just want to check it out. But obviously, he talked about Jota. I'd encourage all of you to just go and watch the Diary of the CEO. To just watch it yourselves, because I can't do it justice the way he spoke, because I'm just not as eloquent as Jurgen. Well, clearly not. Yeah, just go and check it out. I think it's towards the about an hour and a half mark, maybe an hour and 40 minutes when he talks about Diogo, and it was a beautiful speech, and he was just. You can tell he's still absolutely gutted, as we all are with losing Diogo, and just said he was like one of a kind, and just said that obviously the boys are still suffering, and and again I would repeat that we all need to get behind the lads because they have suffered a terrible loss. And he praised him for his presence in return for what Diogo said about him, because Diogo said the most impressive thing about Jurgen, I'm paraphrasing, but the most impressive thing about Jurgen was his presence. And he sort of turned around and said that I think the same about Jota, but I think the thing that really got to me was when he just said he was family. And yeah, obviously start welling up again, don't you? But yeah, no, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing that Jurgen said, so just thank you to the gaffer for that. Then there was the bit about, there was a lot more than this, obviously. Like I said, go and check it out yourself for yourselves, but there was a lot of this thing with Darwin Núñez that Stephen brought up, and like, I don't know if I missed this at the time, because obviously I was gutted that Jurgen left, but I didn't actually know anything. I'd heard something to do with Núñez, but because of the emotion of Jurgen leaving that day, I was kind of like, I'm not really interested in what Darwin Núñez is doing at the minute, quite frankly. But it just talked about the way he looked quite disappointed, and he didn't want to get involved in the celebrations, and Klopp sort of referenced that maybe we didn't have the best of relationships because, excuse me, because I wasn't playing him, which I thought was interesting. But then he brought up the 2-1 goal, the 2-1 result against Newcastle, and Stephen Oakey turns around and basically said, I effing hated that match, which I thought was very, very amusing. They were quite good together, those two speaking together, because I'm not... Stephen Oakey's all right. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, I certainly don't think he's an awful person or anything like that, but I did think he interviewed Klopp quite well, actually, so fair play to him as a Man United fan. One of the really interesting things was, I mean, look, one thing I will say is this thing of people saying that Jurgen Klopp says he's going to manage Liverpool again is absolute nonsense. I mean, watch it for yourself. He said nothing. I've done a show about this as well, so it's just embarrassing. He said nothing of the sort. Absolutely nothing of the sort. He said theoretically, because in context he was just like, well, I said that I would never manage another club in the UK. And that means theoretically, could I manage a Liverpool again? It's a possibility. In response to Stephen Oakey asked him, would you ever manage Liverpool again? Now, that doesn't take into account, would he manage a foreign team? I mean, possibility to me is very, very vague. You know what I mean? So for people to be coming out basically saying that Jurgen wants to manage Liverpool again, you see it on social media and stuff. I mean, it's just complete and utter nonsense, clickbait nonsense. So yeah, I'm glad he basically clarified that. Talked about his mom with the battle of dementia. I don't want to go on about that too much because that's Jurgen's private business, but that did affect me quite a bit as someone that's lost his parent. So yeah, shout out to Jurgen for that, and just it must have been horrendous having to watch his mum's basically funeral for a video screen because it was at COVID at the time and Jurgen couldn't travel. So my heart goes out to the bloke for that. Talked about his faith in God and Jesus. Again, that's Jurgen's thing, so I won't comment too much on that. And Stephen asked him at the end, do you what goals have you got left? And basically said, I want to do a good job for Red Bull, I want to enjoy time with my missus, and I want to enjoy time with the family, which is all that we really want at the end of the day, isn't it? The one last interesting thing, this wasn't the last thing that he said, it was towards the end. Stephen asked him about when Jurgen said that he couldn't do the job anymore, and Jurgen sort of opened up not loads more about it, because he basically went over the old ground, like, I have no energy, I am an energy giver, I think he said, and when I knew that I couldn't do it anymore, then basically I knew that I couldn't manage Liverpool Football Club anymore. But he did sort of talk about the situation where obviously we'd had Michael Edwards who had prepped Julian Ward, if you remember, so this is about 2000, can't remember what it was, 2001, 2002. And then it was that summer when Julian Ward, I think, was involved with the Nunes thing, but then left. And we had to bring in Jörg Schmadtke. But Jurgen was saying, even with Jörg Schmadtke, before FSG got the ducks in a row, that he was having to deal with lawyers, he was having to deal with transfers, he was having to deal with video analysis, he was having to have conversations with FSG, with, I don't know if Mike Golden was there at the time, but whoever the representative for FSG was. And then he was sort of saying, I'm also trying to manage an expensively put together football team, which I hadn't really considered that much. But you do wonder, I mean, again, it's another what if, but you do wonder if there'd been a structure around Jurgen. So let's say, for argument's sake, if Michael Edwards had come straight back after Julian Ward left, does Jurgen stay on because he's got a little bit pressure? I mean, obviously we'll never know, but it's interesting to think about. But then again, does Jurgen Klopp then go and win the Premier League like Arne Slot's won again? 50-50, who knows? I just thought it was a very, very interesting interview. Very glad I watched it. Fair play to Stephen. He was really good interviewing Jurgen, and just fair play to the gaffer, especially with what he said about Diogo. That was absolutely brilliant, and yeah, it was wonderful tribute. So I'd encourage everyone to watch it because it was really, really, really interesting. And yeah, like I always say, just whenever I talk about Jurgen Klopp, because Stephen said he was an inspiration to me. He was a Man United fan, which is big of him, and I just reiterate the same thing. I wouldn't be the guy who I was now without Jurgen Klopp, because Jurgen came in basically when I had become a newly recent father, and I was sort of transitioning from going out on the lash with the lads and trying to be a more responsible adult and this, that, and the other. So, and Jurgen did help me with that, with what a true decent man he was. So yeah, shout out to Jurgen Klopp. Yeah, absolute legend, and still miss him to this day. Could he manage Liverpool again? I doubt it. Would I like him to after Arne's gone? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love him to come back, but yeah, I just can't see it happening, folks. But it was a very, very interesting interview. So, yeah, that was it really. So, thanks everyone for watching. I might talk about it a bit on the live reaction for Eintracht Frankfurt, which I'm really looking forward to, obviously. Dear God almighty. But yes, next time before Liverpool leaves, I'll be back on Wednesday evening. It's going to be around 10:30 to 11. I'm not totally sure what's going to be happening because I'm out filming live earlier in the night, so I'm going to be at Leeds Light Night on definitely on Thursday, but I might also go on the Wednesday, which may impact me seeing the Frankfurt game. But at worst, I should be able to at least watch the second half. So I'll do live reaction for that, and then the next time I'll be on live will be for Brentford versus Liverpool on a Saturday night. So as a separate message, if Liverpool could refrain from ruining my weekend this weekend yet again, it would be very much appreciated, lads. Thank you. But yeah, there'll be lots more Liverpool content coming up as well. Also, I'll let you guys know if I'm going to the Crystal Palace game. There's an outside chance I may be able to get tickets, but it's going to be a very, very last minute job. So I'd say 20%. But if I do go, there'll be a full vlog and match report and shorts and the usual stuff I do anyway. So yeah, cool. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, God bless this guy.